Here's the problem. I call it the trouble with law school. Most of you went to law school, probably sometimes more recently, sometimes 20, 30 years ago. And I'm pretty confident that not one of you learned anything in law school about business. You didn't learn anything about the business side of law, and you didn't take a single class in how do I get clients and how do I take care of clients. And in the business of law, it's all about clients. It's about how do you get them and keep them. How do you service them? How do you provide them with a great experience? So it's not our fault. We didn't get taught. We were put into a game and we didn't even have the right skills and equipment to play the game. But we can still learn them. Sometimes it's scary, but we can learn them, and it's not that hard. We just have to change the things we do just a little bit. I'm going to use that 4-letter word, actually 5-letter word, sales. We hate the word. It connotates all these bad things, about all these things we don't want to do. I used to have someone who worked for me. He came to me when we started sharing business development goals. He said, Jeff, I went to law school because I didn't want to get into sales. And I said, that's great to hear, but here you need to be selling. Because everyone was expected to be selling. But it was a bad word to a lot of people, and a lot of you think it's a bad word because we think of it in terms of getting in someone's face and forcing them to buy what we're selling. It's not that at all. What I like to say to people is, you're never thinking about selling anything, and you're not selling your services, because here's a reality. When you're talking to anyone, 95% plus of the time, they do not have a need for your services at that time. They don't need you today. So there's no need to try and sell them services. What we're trying to do is sell them ourselves. And the easiest way to do that is through connecting, or doing what I call selling by connecting. The other thing I say is stop selling and start helping. The people you interact with have needs. That's something that's a certainty. Everyone you meet and interact with has a need within that day or within that week. And it doesn't mean that you can solve it directly through your own services, but the point is, if you do it right, you have access to resources that can help them with their need. So what I always worked on was I wanted to build up a toolbox. I wanted to be the guy that people called when they needed something. The connector. I wanted to be the first phone call. And that was my mission. It was intentional. It didn't happen by accident. I said, I want to be the person that people call and say, Jeff, I need help with something. Or a third party says, if you need help with something, call Jeff. So what I needed to do in order to be the connector, I needed to meet people, but I had to go out and gather resources to put in my toolbox to be able to help people. Talk about easy. Imagine this conversation. I'm talking to someone about their business and I tell them, look, I'm going to have situations where my clients or people I know will need what you do. Would it be okay if I got to know your business well enough that I could introduce you to them when they have that need? How hard a question is that for them? They looked at me and said, excuse me, you're going to help me get business? Yes, that's okay with me. So everywhere I went, I wasn't selling myself. I was basically offering my services as a referral source to anyone I could meet because I had an unattainable goal. I still have it. My goal was to get to the point that no one could ever ask me for something that I couldn't refer them to someone for. Now that's impossible because there's always some oddball request. But when I get that request of something very bizarre, I go find someone, get to know them, usually through an introduction. They get added to my toolbox. This is what I call selling by connecting. Look for ways to help people and help them. And what did you do when you made that introduction? You actually helped two people because you helped the person who needed help. You also helped the person who could offer them their product or services. So you have two wins. Now some of you say, well, Jeff, where's the win for me? The win is when I do this, I built the relationship. I'm not asking for anything in return, but when the time comes, when it's appropriate, I can ask. Or that person that I helped on both ends will now keep me in mind when they hear of a need that I can solve directly. Selling by connecting.